I'm Dr. Michelle Plaster, and you're listening to Between Two White Coats, a weekly podcast where we dig into key issues surrounding health and wellness. I'm a family medicine doctor, and my co-host, Amber Foster, is a family medicine nurse practitioner.
In our combined 30 years in medicine, we've seen a lot. We are taking some of our biggest questions, obstacles, and patient-centered advice and wrapping it into a 20-minute weekly podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you have found this podcast helpful, give us a 5-star rating and review. This helps other people find our podcast. And make sure you share it with your friends. Thank you for your time. We look forward to serving you.
Last week, we continued with Reverend Michael Wolburn's story. We heard how he drastically changed his lifestyle to aid in his recovery, and how he realized how his unhealthy lifestyle impacted the people he loves the most. We continue Michael's story this week. We hope you enjoy.
So what are your numbers now? Where's your sugar?
He's off his meds.
Well, my sugar, I go back and I see my endocrinologist in May. In January, I had an issue. I was on Rybelsus, and it was a pill a day. I could have taken a shot a week. I said, give me the pill any day. I just couldn't imagine sticking a needle inside me, just one needle a week, but I still didn't want to do that. My sugars, of course, in January had kind of stabilized. My numbers had dropped anywhere between 85 and 100 is where my sugar was running. When I went for post-op with my endocrinologist, my A1C had gone from 8.7 to 5.1, I think it was. And what took place was my coupon that I had for Rybelsus ran out, and my prescription went from $10 to almost $700 a month.
And he's like,
And I called my doctor. I said, I can't do this. And I told him, I said, it's not the sugar that's going to kill me. It's
Right. I'll have another heart attack from the pharmacy.
Right. But I could not allow myself to be put back into a place. So if I had to pay $700 a month, I would have.
What'd your doctor say?
He said, well, let's try Trulicity. And there was another medication. Forget what it was. It's what you see advertised on TV all the time. So and another thing too, I think that's really great is I developed a great relationship with my pharmacist. And they've walked me through a lot and have really helped me on a financial level, and then also to help me understand the medications that I'm taking. But what took place was I found out that those, he said, these will probably be a little bit cheaper. They were about $100 more. Both of them were almost $800 a month. And that was with my insurance covering. I could have, done I could have done paperwork where I'd gotten probably 80% of it back, but I'd had to pay the money up front. I didn't want the stress of that. And I looked at him and I said, I kept good records, used my phone, my blood pressure had stabilized really good. My sugars were well within range. And I looked at him, I said, here's my records. I said, is there any chance I can come off the diabetic medicine based on diet, controlling with diet? So he said, let's try it. So that was in January. I go back, I think it's like in 2 or 3 weeks, but my sugar numbers are ranging anywhere. This morning when I got up, it was 80. Last night I did not take it because we had traveled and I forgot to when I got home. But my sugar numbers are anywhere between about an 85 to 110. The one thing that I've learned, my wife and I have learned, of course, our diet has totally changed. The coach could write a book on diet, but there was green leafy vegetables, chicken, turkey, seafood, no fried foods, no breads, no sugars, no salt. And I drank water and literally have done that since last May. Today I weighed, it was 100 pounds. I've lost 100 pounds since last May.
Wow.
No pills, no quick gimmick. It's just a lifestyle. And foods that I would not eat prior to this, I'm now eating. I still don't like them, but they're healthy for me, and that's a lot of the green leafy stuff. Most of the time, I would wake up out of a sleep and eat a sandwich or go grab some chips, grab a cookie, grab a little Debbie cake, and this sort of thing. I don't do that now.
Well, you're actually sleeping through the night now because you have your CPAP, because we make you wear your CPAP.
Right, I have to wear my CPAP. My sleep numbers have dropped considerably, and so which I still don't understand everything about that. But my numbers are now somewhere between 3 and 6 most nights.
Which is kind of an easy way of saying you stop breathing a few times maybe, and then you catch your breath real quick, as opposed to stop and breathing probably 60 or 80
His
times.
was like one of the worst I've ever seen. His clearways were like 91. His AHI was 91.
Wow. So 91 times of not breathing.
Yes.
When I did the initial sleep study, I remember the technician. He goes, how quick does it take you to go to sleep? I said, before you shut that light off, I'll be asleep. And I don't remember him shutting the light off. 45 minutes later, I was getting up during the night, and this was because of the diabetes and other issues that I had. 5 and 6 and 7 times a night to go to the bathroom. 45 minutes after I had gotten wired up, I rung the bell and said, "Hey, sir, I got to go to the bathroom." So I went into the restroom, come out, he was pulling out the machine, and I said, "Well, I guess I passed the test." And he goes, "Well," he said, "if you consider you stop breathing between 90 and 100 times in the 45 minutes, he said, we're going to go ahead and put you on a CPAP."
He didn't even get through the sleep study.
You can go home after 45 minutes. We've got all we need.
I stayed there that night, but they sent me home with a BiPAP machine. And I remember asking Amber, I said, "What's the difference between a CPAP and a BiPAP?" She said, "Dad, the next thing is a respirator."
You get vented.
That's how, but I had restless leg. I had all the things that were associated with sleep apnea. And so, getting used to a sleep machine, I don't go anywhere without it now. I sleep all night long. I get up maybe once now, but most of the time we'll sleep. My numbers are great. Physically, from the heart surgery and things like that and everything that they had diagnosed me with, I guess I could probably be better, but I'm good. I feel good. I'm rested. I don't sleep. I'd go to sleep during the day in my office at church. I'd go home. I'd sit on the couch and I'd sleep for 3-4 hours before I'd go to bed.
We call it social sleeping. He's always been a social sleeper, right, Daddy?
I want to be involved where all.
He does not want to go to bed and drive us crazy with the snoring, but
he's at the party. He just doesn't remember the party.
Yeah.
Tell me how bad I was snoring, and I said it can't be that bad. If it was that loud, I would wake myself up. But evidently it was bad. So, but I'm not snoring. I'm not moving in bed anymore. I just dream a lot. I get into this deep sleep, and last night was not a good night as far as dreams. It was not a good night for dreams. But
what is the biggest difference between you today and you a year ago?
Oh, of course, the physical change. That's probably the biggest thing. Even people at my church, Wednesday night, I walked in, we have what we call our midweek service, our life groups and this sort of thing, community groups and this sort of thing. And people are looking at me and they said, "I didn't recognize you. I'm sorry. I didn't know who you were." And so the 100-pound weight loss, of course, I went from like about a 44 pant. I'm wearing a 32 pant now. I'm wearing a large shirt where I was wearing a double X and it was tight. So even the way I dress, the way I carry myself, but on the physical level, sleeping good. I sleep about 6 hours, 7 hours a night, maybe a little bit more from time to time, but I get up about 5:30 to 5:45. This morning, I walked a little over 4 miles. I walked from about 6 o'clock to 7:15, 7:30 in the morning. It's not only a physical activity for me, but it's a spiritual time for me. My view on creation, but not just creation. I see life all around me, and I realized that I almost lost all that. The green trees look so green. Flowers look so beautiful. Even on a cloudy morning, I look at the clouds and I'm like, wow, look at the clouds. And the sun over the horizon. That's it. What you all do is just not a physical healing, but it's an emotional healing. It's a spiritual healing if people will look at it that way. And I remember looking at one of my doctors and I said, I don't understand what's going on. I said, I'm a man of faith. We're a family of faith. I believe God can heal, but I also know God heals through what you do. And I said, you tell me, based on your education and your thought processes and what you've been through, what do I need to do? And I'll do it. And I chose to do it, Dr. Plaster. It was do or die. And that's the place I'd gotten to. And I'm glad to be living. I really am.
What would your first piece of advice be to someone who was ignoring, or I wouldn't even say neglecting, because I don't think people believe they're neglecting their health. I think they're just ignoring their health. What would your first piece of advice be to someone who's ignoring their health?
Oh, wow. That is a loaded question.
It's a hard one.
The easy answer is go to the doctor. But, of course, I had other health issues after the fact, after the heart disease. So I have seen doctor after doctor after doctor this past years. My biggest fear was COVID and just staying protected from COVID, because my heart doctor said, you cannot get COVID.
We were crazy people.
So it's all the preventative stuff. But, from someone who had not been to the doctor for 20 years, I look at it that I probably lost 35 to 40 appointments. If I had been healthy, what is it, every 6 months or so, a 6-month checkup, a yearly checkup, I at least missed 20 visits with somebody who was smarter than I am. And probably, it was at least 20. And because of my health condition, there would have been a lot.
Right.
Well, maybe not. We might could have caught him early, Daddy.
Well, it's just it's the fact, and I'm not a good example prior to, but trust the journey. One of the things that I've learned, my wife and my kids, that we've learned through this process is there's evidence all along the way. If you'll look and you'll listen, your body is telling you things. Listen to what your body tells you. Look at what your body is doing, and use wisdom. When somebody says, do you feel okay? And if it's somebody who really loves you and cares for you, there's a reason why they're asking. And it's I had too many wake up calls after the fact, and I was having wake up calls all along the way.
Hearing go to the doctor, that's always good advice. If you haven't seen a doctor in a long time, you don't have to know everything. Go to someone who has studied this, and they can help make sure you're okay. I'm also hearing listen to your body, listen to the messages. I really heard what you said, and I think this happens with a number of people of faith. And Amber and I, if you don't know us, are great people of faith. And we truly believe that what we do here every day is a service and a calling. And I knew I wanted to be a doctor when I was very small, but I don't think I chose it. I think it was chosen for me, and I'm blessed to get to do it. But there are a number of situations where people say, well, God will heal, or God, I'm going to give this to you. And I think in other areas, I think when things are heavy or intimidating, we'd rather just do that, whether that is a form of denial or whether that is an ability to say, God, you just do it. I don't think I can, and I certainly don't want to. But I think all of us who walk in faith know that's not really how God works. God, just like Amber knew she couldn't do more for you than you were willing to do for yourself, I think God knows that we have to have an investment as well. He can do amazing, wonderful things, but it sure is easier if we're on board and willing to help him. And so I appreciate you saying that the doctors are often instruments of faith and instruments of God. All the people who ask you, are you feeling okay, are instruments of God. Getting up and walking across a room and being short of breath is an instrument of God. God talks to us every day. But God talks to us every day. God talks to us in so many ways. Are we listening? And so we can't just hand things to him and then think he's got it from here. I think it's team play with God, and we're an important member of the team.
I agree with that. One of the things that I wrestled with was my faith versus fact, because as a person who prays for people and who believes for people to be well, the fact was I was a sick man. I had faith to believe God could heal me, and I know God has healed me. He's healed me through medicine. We look for the miraculous. And sometimes the miraculous comes in the everyday things that we do. I had people who would say, well, if you just believe God, you'd be healed. And I believe that. But I also had a doctor who has a piece of paper that says, you've got diabetes. And I had to do something about it. So God, he gives you wisdom. If I choose to take that wisdom in, it's my responsibility. So learning that, and that's why my wife and I, we call it managing the miracle. We believe God has given us a miracle. God placed people in our life at miraculous times, and so we're very grateful.
So Dad didn't have a primary care when all of this happened, right? So he has a major heart attack, almost died on us, had open heart surgery.
I'm pretty sure your primary care breaks up with you if you haven't seen him in 20 years.
Yeah.
And I still don't have a primary care. I went back in October to my heart doctor, and this is another miraculous part.
Well, I had given Daddy a list that said, I gave you that list, and I was like, okay, all of this has been done, but you still have not had a colonoscopy, you're 10 years behind, and you've not had a PSA.
And this happens a lot when you have a specific medical issue. You get a lot of specialists. You have an endocrinologist, a cardiologist, a cardiothoracic surgeon, pulmonologist. You've got lots of ologists. But you don't have the one captain of the ship. You got lots of parts to the ship.
Yes.
You don't have the captain of the ship, as we in primary care like to consider ourselves the
That's
captain.
right.
I don't know
the
if
boss.
those high-paid specialists the
they
captain
don't.
We like to end each episode with Tell Me Something Good. Today's something good is your body's amazing ability to get well. Your body is good at healing itself. Your body wants to find homeostasis. It wants to find its way back to normal. If you give your body a fighting chance, it will fight for you. I am amazed every day at the healing that happens in people. Thanks for sharing your time with us today, and until next time, take care of yourself.